Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Get Your Paint On this Thursday. I am Jordan Lamb. I sound a little funky today. I'm a little under the weather, so it's going to be a little bit more quiet, down, easy stream today. Guests I have today, we got our wonderful Tony Konachek.
Hey, good morning.
And we got a new one here for you. We got Adam Oligschlager. Yeah, we'll get there. He'll introduce himself.
Good morning, Adam.
Hello.
So, we'll get to who everybody is here in a second, but just a couple quick announcements. We got stream schedule, Dev Hangout. We got Wednesdays at 10 a.m. PST. Get your paint. Get your paint on. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Staff Showdown, May 10th, 10 a.m.
And that's next Friday.
That's next Friday.
Yeah.
Who's going to be on it again?
That's going to be Oz and Hungerford playing Mom Pock.
Perfect. We got Primecast Live on May 24th, also 10 a.m.
All right.
You can see it on Twitch and Facebook live streaming. We've got Danny's Hobby and Terrain blog. She's posting on very regularly updates on all of the happenings at the hobby side of Privateer Press. It's a sweet photo of me and Danny working on some of his terrain a little bit last night.
Look at them beards.
Yeah,
Hot.
Gotta have that beard. Working on some of the Infernals terrain in the background there. And we got lock and load tickets, which are still on sale. Event signups are now open, so if you guys want to sign up for any tournaments or any events while you're at the show, feel free to go ahead and do that now. We're going to move on to Mini Crate. We've got, we'll get there. All right, so if you subscribe by May 19th, you'll get Asphyxius the Damned. It's a really cool alternate Asphyxius model. One of my personal favorites. I really like this guy a lot. Got Kaido Kasori of the Phoenix Clan for our L5R Mini Crate. And Bride of Arkadius, which is our VIP subscription for Mini Crate. Which is, in fact, what we are painting today. We talked a little bit about it last week. We've got Bride of Arkadius right here.
There she is.
Paint her up. One of the cool things we're going to be doing this week, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my process of taking a color concept to kind of a finished product. I know we won't have time to finish the whole thing while we're on stream today, but we will at least get there. So, Tony, if you could pull up the color concept, we'll go into that real quick. So this is the color concept that we've got. It was colored, the color concept was drawn by Andrea. He's a really great artist that we work with. We get our color concepts done. We've got Mike Valancourt who did the color concept for this guy, or this lady, excuse me, who's a lot of fun. So one of the things that we try and do here is I try and create generally a one color tone for each element. So I'll pick a color from the line that I feel like matches the theme or the color that I want for the model. In this case, most of the colors that you're going to see here are pretty desaturated. So a great example of something that I'll use for like the gloves and the boots that she's got on, something like Trollblood Base, which I can show you guys here. Excuse me. Is, if you want to pull up the thing, is this color right here. It's kind of that, oops, right there. So this is a little bit more saturated than I would normally do, but it'll get desaturated when I mix some more colors into it for the highlights and the shadows. So that's going to be the base coat I'm going to use for that. So I'll get started on that, and we can kind of move on to more things later. Let's get Adam on the mic here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, my guy.
How's it going, everyone? My name's Adam Oligschlager. I'm the owner of Broken Egg Games. We're a licensed partner with Privateer to bring you guys the best tokens and gaming accessories on the market.
And Adam makes beautiful tokens. So if you've gone to any of our events, you've definitely seen some of his stuff on the table.
Yeah. So those are the Mercenary War Sticks, just really simple measuring devices, widgets, as they like to be called, to speed up your gameplay and make sure everything's nice and precise and clean. Also looks good, so that's important. And then we also do tokens for each faction. So, for example, it looks like we're putting up the Crix tokens. Also, the first faction we submitted in terms of artwork. That was a lot of fun. So we like to theme them. We have very specific shapes and layouts for the different types of tokens. They're a bit larger, so they're easier to read. One-sided, so they're not confusing. Just a lot of time and effort and feedback from the community on how to put these together. So,
And then you tailor each of these like per faction, right?
correct. Yeah, there's a different set per each faction. There's the base token set, and then as new models are released, we actually release update packs, so you could pick and choose which packs you want to get, but you don't have to worry about whether or not the new set has the old stuff and the old stuff has the new stuff. It's just all chronological and released.
Oh,
as
that's
we move forward.
awesome.
So
All right.
easy and clean. So, yeah.
And then you also there's another thing that you make, and I have one of these at home. Is your awesome trays here?
Yeah, that's it's kind of actually where it all began. It was our first product. We did actually hardwood, real wood trays. These are not laser cut. These are hand finished, and then we do laser engrave. We can laser engrave custom quotes and all sorts of cool different things with different layouts. The weight on them is a bit long because, like I said, they're hand finished. So sometimes they can take, months at a time, depending on the area in which we are in our order process. But we get them out as soon as possible. They're tough. They're durable. You could kill a man with it if you needed to. So yeah.
All right, yeah, and I want to point out we're just kind of showing off a few select items here, but Adam's got many more options available for tokens and trays and
all over the
stick
place.
design. So go to brokeneggs.com or brokenegggames.com and check out all the options there.
Yeah, please do, guys and gals.
All right, so you're just hanging out painting with us today,
Yeah, absolutely. I was in the studio for a lot of other business, and Tony and I go way back, and Jordan and I have known each other, what, a year now, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We met shortly after I started working for Privateer.
Yeah. We're convention brothers.
Convention Brothers. See about a few times a year.
Yeah. It's weird how you can develop such a close relationship with people that you only see a few times a year.
Yeah, it's really fun, and usually out of each other's home city. So sometimes we're both in Seattle for lock and load, but usually when we see each other, you're in Phoenix and I'm from here.
Yep.
So we're seldom in the same place.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's nice to have you out here.
Yeah, I love
good
visiting
to
for
see
sure.
you.
It's a nice change up. It's almost 100 degrees in Arizona right now. So I got here and I was kind of cold.
Yeah, all last night and this morning he's been complaining about how cold he is. It's not even that cold out, Adam. Got to get with the times, get with the places. It's warm here.
Absolutely.
So I'm just putting down this base coat. Tony, if you could actually...
Awesome, Steve. Thank you. Steve Gibson said, getting my CAD Grimkin tokens tomorrow. We did put up the pre-order for those guys. We were a bit slow on that one. I wanted to have it right after Adepticon, but a cool little update pack. A lot of people ended up buying two packs for that, and that's by design to make sure you have maximum field allowance and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not necessarily running what's the new hotness right now, but you still want copies of the tokens, you can just get a single pack. So
Getting some love for Broken Egg.
Yeah.
People have definitely seen your stuff around.
Thank you, Becky Red. Love Broken Egg and have a lot of their stuff. Awesome. No, you're awesome.
All right.
That was super cheesy.
That was super cheesy.
That's it. You're on the right show then.
Yeah. Love it.
We like to make these shows nice and weird and cheesy, so feel free to let a little bit of the weirdness out.
That's
Get your paint on, man. This is what it's for. You gotta get it out of you,
up.
Loosen up.
So were you doing Troubled Base or Troubled Highlight?
This is Troubled Base.
Troubled Base.
Yeah, Troubled Base is a lot more blue. Troubled Highlight's like a kind of a warmish gray color, like whitish.
And here it comes.
Oh yeah,
Boom.
the best sloop sound ever. It is almost the same color as the background.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I was
It's
gonna
like
say.
it's disappearing.
Really-
There it is. You got to put your
There we
head
go.
in there.
There we
Usually
go.
I'm telling you to
Now
lean
you guys
out.
can see what
Hey,
it
it's
looks
perfect.
like. You get a nice shot of the back of my ear and my
I was gonna say your ear is so handsome.
Oh, well, thank you. Your beard is wonderful. It's not on stream, but he's got a wonderful beard.
Adam has a very
Not
good
quite
beard.
as nice as mine.
This is a beard-filled room. In
It's
fact,
true.
I think I may have the least amount of beard.
You do. The beard's a
You
new
do
thing
have
for me.
those.
I had the goatee and the mustache going.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so we say Rikerson on Twitch is what's the average cost of a custom token set? Well, custom is different than what we offer for the Privateer Press official tokens, and that's just kind of depending on what it is you want to purchase, and that's all through email and all that kind of stuff. But the base set, the base token set, which would be everything that was released at the beginning of Mark III, was actually $60, and all of our update packs usually land in the $15 range on the website. So I do not know what the Canadian conversion is, but I think it's like Rikerson's helping us out there.
Google is your friend.
Google is my friend. I turned my phone off though. I feel like that would be professional, so I'm not. I don't have Google at my
I mean, you don't
fingertips.
have to turn your phone off.
30% more. Oof. Oof.
That's the key.
Yeah.
All right. So have you done anything to this Troll Blood base, or is this straight out of the pot?
This is straight up. Well, I mean, I watered it down a little
Sure.
bit, but yeah, this is mostly just straight out of the pot. So it's a really nice color. This is one of my favorite colors that we have. It's a really versatile blue-gray color.
It is too, and whether or not you do a white or a black primer base, it really pops the color out differently too. And that's not
coats
true
really
for
well.
everything, but for that color, it does.
I'm gonna pop back to the concept art real fast.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm looking on here. Okay, yeah, you do get. It's definitely on those boots. You can see that kind of blue-gray.
Yeah, and we're gonna push it up a little bit brighter too,
Okay.
so you'll get a lot more of the sense of that kind of grayish tone.
Okay.
I'm just kind of settling that undertone right now.
Now, I would say that looking at this photo, I might be like, someone might decide to go like a greatcoat gray with that because of this.
Could.
What made you go more to the blue side?
So generally speaking, I try to be pretty faithful to the color concept, especially when I like the color choices that are there. So I try to match it pretty close, or at least as close as I can. Like I'll occasionally take some liberties if I feel like something needs to like change. But I try to keep it as generally close to the concept as possible. Because also like a lot of the time there's artwork that's already been done. So this model, this character already exists with color in our setting and in our world. So I have to match it as close as I can. So granted, while this doesn't, right, I have a little bit more flexibility. Something like Makeda, for instance, right? If I were to paint Makeda, if we were to make a new one or what have you, I would want to match those colors to the scoring colors because that's the way that it needs to be, right? So, and we have recipes for that and everything, so that's a little bit easier. It's a little bit harder with things that you have to kind of match a color that doesn't have a recipe, which is something that I do every once in a while. But generally speaking, I try to match it as close as I can to the color tone that I see on my computer for the color concept.
You know, I imagine sometimes that's it's got to be a little tricky to be able to look at the concept art and immediately know what colors you're going to use. So what kind of thought process are you doing when you are identifying which base color and then perhaps even the highlights and shades that you're going to start working on when you're looking at the concept art?
So, being familiar with the paint range is a huge benefit, for one. I tend to, like, it's something that I've always liked to do, which is to like match colors is something that I've practiced a lot. So the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But like, what's the best way to do this? Honestly, just using your eye and trial and error is kind of the best way to figure out the best way to do it. There's no, like, you just do this and you pick out a color and it's easy. You kind of just need to, like, you look at the color, you're like, all right, that's blue. So you go to your blues and you're like, all right, so this is kind of gray. So I'm going to go for like a more kind of grayish blue, right? I look at all the gray blues that I have and I'm like, okay, what are the undertones that I see here? Okay, well, this is a little bit more green, or this is maybe a little bit more red, or like warmer or cooler, what have you. And then I'll kind of just push it a little bit further until I get something that matches a lot closer.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like nothing is perfect. So
Well, I like to do. I did this back in the day when I used to paint houses. You deal with color swatches all the time. So taking a piece of paper or something similar and just literally putting streaks of paint on it and picking it up and putting it right next to whatever you're trying to match and saying, hey, is this closer? Is this closer? Because also the medium in which you're looking at those colors can change. A computer screen versus, is it a physical product in front of you? What kind of light sources was it, that you were looking at?
Right.
Under,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And it really just kind of changes the way it looks. And even from eye to eye, the spectrum that Tony sees for blues might be slightly different than the spectrum I see for blues. So I always like to use little paint swatches or different things. And I do that a lot for when we're doing things for token design, because I know that what I see on the screen might be different than what comes out in the print, which might be different than what was on my designer screen, and so having that consistency is really good to be able to hold something up and say, is this a match? Is this not a match? Or how far that off that is? So
Right. And
that's a really, really, really good point to bring up. And I do a little bit. I don't really do color swatches, but I have the benefit of having like a color palette that I'll blend the paints into, and I can kind of blend all the colors together, and I can pick from that blend what's the closest thing to what I see on the screen.
very cool.
And also, you're not allowed to ever make mistakes. So you can't ever
never.
choose the
Never,
correct color the first time. If you do, then you have to destroy the mini instantly. Start over.
What's your favorite way to destroy the mini?
I just crush it.
Just
Yeah.
crush it.
I have just for this purpose, have those springy hand grips for grip
You
strength,
just
just so I can
practices all
rage
day.
crush minis. I mean, it happens enough. Like enough
That's already
mistakes
the
are made that's just like you got to keep those muscles handy.
Believe it or not, Tony is the number one purchaser of minis. That's awesome.
Those stress balls are not for stress.
No, they're not. They're for
Practice for
training.
destroying minis.
All right, what are you doing now? It looks like you added your shades.
So I added a little bit of Gravedigger denim, which is one of the colors that we released for the Grimkin paint line when they came
great
out.
Color. I really
Yeah,
like that
it is actually very much a denim color.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if you look at a
ready to
pair
go.
of like denim jeans, it's pretty much exactly the color.
I have a joke for you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
hit me with it. Well, don't hit me with it.
What
but, like, spit it out.
what is Mario's overalls made out of? Denim.
Ah, that's really good. It's actually really good.
I'm gonna mute your mic now.
I'm gonna mute your mic now.
Denim.
I also mixed a little bit of Daymar Black into the Gravedigger denim to kind of add a little bit of more kind of shadow and darkness to it because I'm shading the boots and the gloves with it. And then I'm kind of just picking from different parts of that blend, whether I want higher, like brighter or darker to kind of go in here and highlight this. And I'm probably going to move over here to a brighter color in a second because this is pretty close to where I want it. And I think the next color we're going to add in here is we're going to take our Troubled base. We're going to add a little bit of underbelly blue to it as well. And this will hit that kind of like brighter color tone. And I'll kind of put this on
That's
my hand so you guys can see it too. Just give me 1 second here.
Who's is your belly that blue color, Tony?
Not today.
No.
Talking about trolls, dude. Calm down.
Although by the end of this stream, right before lunchtime, I think it's definitely going to change color. That's what happens when it gets angry.
I need food. Give me food, Tony. No, seriously, Tony, give me food.
It's like actually leave, come back with food.
Just no, we should just keep operating under the assumption that right off camera is just a huge buffet spread, and that their paint studio is just filled with wonderful smells of cuisine
So
at all times.
if you guys can see this, this is kind of the progression of color that we're going for here. We've got the troll bud base in the middle, the underbelly blue here, and the gravedigger at the bottom. You can see that the gravedigger is like a really nice blend. Let me put a little bit of the darker. That's what it looks like when it's mixed with a little bit of Thamar black. Kind of turns into almost kind of a coal black color, but it's just a nice smooth progression into this underbelly.
Yeah, that looks great.
So that's kind of what you're going for when you're designing color recipes for stuff like this. Is you kind of want to like imagine what it would look like in real life or in the setting or in the environment that you're imagining that this character is going to be in, and then using that to create a swatch of colors that you're going to use for each element.
Hey there, Doug. Nice to see you, buddy. Or read you, I guess.
So let's go ahead and take a look at some of our hashtag P3 Painter
Oh, heck yeah.
submissions.
Oh, yeah.
So Adam, if you're not familiar with these are people send in images to hashtag P3 Painters on Instagram. And then we like to pick them every week, pick a few and show off what people are doing.
That's amazing. I love that.
So we picked a couple this week. And the first of them, Jordan, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Got this nice
Oh, I love this.
Kador battle group from Conan McOsome. Osome.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I really drew me to this is the battle damage on the shoulder pads
absolutely.
and the contrast that's achieved between like the dark areas of that top plate and the brighter highlight areas. It just looks really nice. It's not super clean as far as like it's not pristine looking, but it's got that like nice realistic feel to it, which I don't see all the time. But I really like seeing that grittiness.
And there's just battle damage all over this thing. It's here on the arm pads, right here on the cannon.
Yeah, it's awesome. I also like, and maybe it's using the same technique and everything, but like the shoulder pad in the black with the battle damage pops differently than the damage on the red. Just definitely a lot of detail and effort went into there, and also the effect on the blades, right? Just the small little details really pushing it far away. The light up on the faces of the warjacks, right? The glow effect there is awesome.
Yeah, I like on the battle damage. I also like how there's tons of scratches, but then it's not just all slashing lines.
Yeah.
Like there's just places where it looks like it's
Dented.
scuffed and scraped. There's bullet holes, and then like you were saying, the clean, smooth gradient of those ice axes is just it's a nice contrast to that kind of rougher, dirtier texture from the jacks themselves.
Absolutely.
Conan, nice job.
Yeah, this is really well done. Thank you for your submission.
Yeah, thank you. Keep sending them in. Show us your stuff. Next we have this nice trencher blockhouse.
This is awesome. This is something that I really like to see. Inventive and interesting basing. Like there's one thing that you can do to a model, regardless of how well it's painted, that will totally elevate it to the next level. And that's having a really cool and interesting base.
Agreed.
And this really, really well done here, I think.
It feels like a diorama, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. And you can do that without having a ton of space. You just have to figure out the best way to like demonstrate the atmosphere that you want, right? Like in this setting, it's like on a battlefield, right?
Entrenched.
And it really sells that.
Yeah.
I think
for sure.
B Extremes nailed it on this one.
Yep,
Those
and the
sandbags.
battle damage, the sandbags, the rope, right? Like that little attention to detail there. Or is that barbed wire?
I think it's barbed wire.
Barbed wire, yeah. Yeah, a great model. The rust damage on the top and how it's pooled. You could just see that, it gives a feel to that this thing is weathered and been out there regardless of being in battle.
And taking some hits. All right, B Extremes, thank you very much. And our last one, which we've seen from this painter before, but just continues to be posting some really knockout stuff. We have a Lava Painter.
Yeah. This also goes more into the talking about how basing can kind of elevate something, right? Mm-hmm. This is a really good example of that. It creates a lot of visual interest and adds to a model, right?
Yeah. So apparently this is a base for his Helios for Retribution. I like how he actually posted the picture of what it looked like beforehand and being able to see it painted afterwards.
Yeah. It probably looks like hot glue and just really, really well. It clearly done in layers, right? And in different pourings and stuff. But that's some practice there. That's really cool.
Nice. And you were saying something about how this technique didn't have to necessarily be for lava.
So I've seen people do really cool acid pool or green glow effects, and it all uses the exact same steps that you would use, just different color bases, working from the dark colors to the outside to the light colors to the inside to show the focus of the energy. In this case, for lava, it'd be heat. But if you were thinking about, I don't know, like a green acid pool, and you want to focus that to the middle, it's going to give off that glow effect the same way, just using a different set of colors, building from the outside dark to the inside being almost to the white or to the lightest color that you're going to do.
Right.
So the steps work the same, and you can get such crazy, cool, fantasy-looking stuff by mixing colors. I saw one person do a purple spectrum, and I was just like, that's so otherworldly, but it was the exact same thing as if you would have painted lava.
Right.
So,
all right, everybody, thank you for posting. Keep those pictures coming. We love seeing what you're working on. And Jordan, where are we with your paint?
So we're getting there. Got most of the highlights in. I'm just going to try and blend them out a little bit, so not quite as harsh lines. And then we're looking pretty good, to be honest.
What are you moving on next to?
I think we'll move on to either the leather or the skin. Depends on what the folks in chat want to see more.
Frothy Cat pointed out that Lava Painter is a lady. Noted. Also very cool, and thank you for that clarification.
Yes, thank you very much. Try to get in there. Just blend those harsh lines out so they kind of smooth out into more gradual shading and highlighting in there.
So are you adding your midtone back in?
Yep. So I go in with the bright underbelly, and then I'm going back in with kind of glazes of the midtone, which is the Trollblood base, to kind of smooth and blend that out. And you kind of see it on this here. And I might go back in here with like Frostbite maybe, or some Menoth White highlight if I've got it. Yep. And just put some really like stark highlights to represent that kind of like latex glove-esque look.
Sheen.
Sheen, yeah.
The kickback.
And is Menoth White highlight?
Yeah, I think I'm probably just going to do this with Menoth White highlight. And this is something you want to do with like a really, really pointy brush, because you're going to need to get pretty close in here and get really tight lines.
This is always something that the one I struggle with in doing painting is trying to get different textures to look like the texture, right? Doing colors and shading and highlight, doing form is pretty straightforward at this point for me. But trying to make leather look like leather without relying on color alone, or making stuff look shiny, or making it look rough.
Yeah. Jordan and I were actually talking about Infernals yesterday and skin color and trying to get a different look. Like if you wanted conceptually, like if you're thinking about like what was the reference you used? Like aliens, right? Or if you wanted to even make it look like a whale shark or versus a seal, something like that has that potential different sheen on it, skin wise, right? Insect versus mammal versus whatever. We're not just talking about potentially fur versus not fur, but just how to make something look sleek and wet, or and not look like oil, right? And still be skin, that kind of thing. So
yeah, a lot of it is understanding the light and how it interacts with different textures. So like for painting something like a latex glove, right? Because you can see it on here. It's got that really, really, really high reflective quality, which you see in that texture of material. And you want that. You want to figure out where those highlights are supposed to go, what they typically look like. So like in a lot of ways, like latex is kind of similar to how metal reacts to light. It's a little different, but it kind of similar ideas generally, because it's so reflective, right? In that you've got these really nice, they call them specular highlights, which is where if you look at like a metal tube, right, and it's got that circular tone to it, your eye, the reflection will always be at eye level when you're looking at it, and it'll go across the entire surface of that rounded object, right? So I don't know if I have anything around here that kind of oh yeah, perfect. I don't know if you can see it on here. Yeah. So
Yep.
so this highlight right here, that really bright highlight on the bottle, right? That's what's called specular highlight, right? So you've got that really, it's always at the same level. So when I turn the bottle, it doesn't change, right? It's always at the same level, and that's because your eye is looking at it from a very specific level.
And in this case, not even at the top, right? So
Exactly. It's not at the top. Yeah. It's towards the middle or upper middle area, depending on where the light source is and depending on where you're looking at it from.
So like on her forearm there, you did that streak.
Towards the upper middle of that.
And that
because
absolutely is popping like latex would.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, when you're doing that, are you then having to consider each part of the model when you're doing those specular highlights are all catching that reflection from the same point of view and the same light source? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
What
So
way are you
it's
facing the model?
Right.
Where's
Correct.
the light coming from?
in a lot of like putting highlights on models and figuring these sort of things out is designing a position for the person who's going to be looking at your model to you're basically focusing on a single focal point. Like this is precisely the way that I want this person to look at the model. So this is like you're kind of just designing a painting for them in almost a 2D space, even though it's a 3D model, right? So thinking about that sort of stuff when you're painting a model is a really good way to give you a lot of character and a lot of like realism to what you're painting.
Adam Pass said, "Hey guys, I recently bought some secondhand metal Signar Warjacks. Any idea on how to smooth those suckers out so the surface quality is comparable to plastic models?" It's a lot of that's in the primer you use, right? Like using the correct metal primers is gonna smooth some stuff out for sure.
So something that you'd be surprised with, and something that I've started using more recently to kind of prepare your models a little bit more, is instead of just using like on metal, you typically want to use files instead of a knife. You generally will get a better you'll get a better finish. And one of the things that you can do to get an even like smoother finish on a lot of metal models, you can do it a little bit on resin models as well, is take some like high grit sandpaper to it.
Yeah.
And you'll
automotive.
yeah, it's kind of like painting a car or something like that. You tend to want to take low or high grit sandpaper to it, and it'll really give you this like really nice smooth finish, which I did on some of the studio models more recently and some of my own personal stuff that looks really, really, really clean.
Also make sure that there's no more release or any other chemicals on it and everything else.
Yep.
Because you've ground it off.
And the nice thing about low grit sandpaper is it'll leave a little bit of that like kind of grittish texture, but it's so fine that most of your primer will just smooth that right out.
Fill in the cracks.
And I imagine if that's the case, then it also helps that original that first paint layer or the primer layer adhere even more to the model.
Correct.
More friction, more surface area. Jordan does have a cold. Yes,
I do have a cold, definitely.
Or he's dying.
He's powering through. It was touch and go this morning.
It was.
Jordan was a champ. I didn't even have to cajole him into it. He He volunteered on his own, wanted to be here.
That is 100% not true. Actually,
I did have to cajole Adam.
Yeah, Tony had him up against the wall, and he was like, "Adam, if you're not on the stream, I swear Jordan will not live to see tomorrow." And I was like, "Well,
looks like I'm here.
Just freed up."
All right, what do we want to work on next, guys? Do we want to do skin tone?
Let's ask the chat.
Yeah,
we can ask our guest. Did you have a?
I was going to say let's
There
ask
you
the
go.
chat.
Yeah,
That's totally. I was totally on the same page. It's great.
So chat, what are we working on next? In the meantime, while they're posting those, Adam, will you do me the honor of reading these off? Hold on one second.
The CFAX.
We got our CFAX. We have CFAX this week, and hopefully, see now I'm afraid. I did it wrong.
You got it. You checked.
Let me see. I'm gonna try and check it. Okay, I think we're good. I'm gonna try not to blow it this week, folks. And here we go.
I get it. It's a dolphin.
CFAX. All right, Adam, you want to kick us off with the first question? So we're going to, with the way we do this, we read the question, then we go back to Jordan painting. We let people in the chat come up with their answer, and then we go back, read the answer, and we'll have you go through this. We might talk about it a little bit or something and see who's right.
I like it. So to clarify, though, you don't have the answers posted up already.
No, we will. When you read the answer, we will post up the answer. And as you can see on this screen, there are no answers currently visible. I'm going to try to keep it that way until the right time.
Good.
My track record is not great.
Awesome. Okay. Question. What is the most likely scenario to explain the hypothetical existence of the Bride of Arkadius?
So in layman's terms,
simpler terms,
why is
does
the
she
bride?
exist? why would this model exist, or why would this person exist in the Iron Kingdoms?
What would be some of the reasons?
I mean, I just read the sheet, so I
already know. I can't say anything. I won't say anything.
That's terrible for a live stream, though. So we gotta.
Riley's being the technician.
You know what? He got tired of not having any helpful hands around the house.
Helpful hands, I like it.
Yeah. So he needed a partner in crime.
Okay.
For all of his craziness that he likes to do to these horribly abused.
Vivisection is a hard job.
monsters.
You need somebody to be able to vent to, right,
goodness.
and support you.
Absolutely.
And just be
He had
like,
too many roadhogs. Come on.
Yeah.
Too many.
He had too many roadhogs.
I talked to Pharaoh all day.
Innuendo.
I mean,
What we're doing here. I
and
like it.
we're talking about splatterboars too.
You're splattering boars everywhere.
I mean, splatterboar is the name of the model.
It's true.
Splatterboar.
It's true.
All right. So we got Quasitor says that it's
He gave Targ some plastic
So
surgery.
the Bride of Arkadius, formerly Targ.
That's actually fantastic.
That's the first answer I read. It's already my favorite.
Rewrite the fiction.
Yeah.
Unless that's right. It might actually just be right.
He was lonely and made a bride. Arkadius created her.
Okay. All right.
That might be a little bit of a given. He created her, but then maybe not. Maybe not. That's not given.
Could be his daughter.
Yeah.
Could be.
Oh yeah. Bride of Arkadius.
Hey man, listen. I'm not from that world. I don't know what's okay and not okay. I mean, the dude's clearly not morally grounded.
Yes.
So
its mental state is in question. He needed a person that could not be forced to testify against him in court.
Yeah, see? I like that.
Thanks, Alec.
That was good. And Andrew Duckers, it's his daughter, but the nickname Bride is because he's trying to hook her up with Stryker and get more clout and Signa.
Oh, an arranged marriage.
Okay, I got you.
Forging unions.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's fair.
Not bad. I like that. Transplant.
Forging his narrative.
Oh, the Bride of Arkadius, according to Stryker, is Arkadius with a transplanted brain into a new body.
Bold. I like it.
Or he found a crazy lady that was all about it.
Fair. I mean, yeah, that would make a lot of sense, right? He's got a partner in crime, like you said.
That's what I'm saying.
Literally
his workshop is too large, and he cannot handle it himself.
All right, let's take a look at the answer.
Okay.
Obviously,
And
I was right.
it is. Go ahead.
Avi. As a master of extreme biology, surgery, and mad science, there are many options. The one most in keeping with Arkadius' personality would be his making a clone. In the process, he would determine he gets more robust results with a female variant, alchemically duplicating his X chromosome twice rather than trying to create the Y chromosome. All right, I'm on there, bro. The clone will be given all of his memories by being injected with a mixture containing carefully excised brain tissue from Arkadius in an alchemical bath, including essence of crypt spider. She would wind up with a very similar personality, including most of his derangements because of it.
So they're very similar.
Well-
It's like he's married to himself. I mean, his clone.
Yeah. Doesn't even, I mean, yeah. Just, it is him. So when I said daughter/sister, it's strangely on point.
So Rikers Iron, I had no idea cloning tech existed in IK. I mean, I feel like Arkadius is the pioneer
Yeah,
in the IK of cloning.
if someone was going to be doing it, it would be him
It would
for
be
sure.
him. So KP Edge, nice job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had one other up here. Oh, Alec, Lonely and Made a Bride. That counts. And Andrew Duckers, Arkadius creator. I gave you a little bit of a hard time before, but that is exactly what happened. So here's to you.
We literally just brought a bunch of people into the room to clap, and now we're kicking them out.
They've been very quiet this whole. It is hard keeping that many
Super
people quiet.
impressed. I think 2 of them had to pee the whole time too. So.
All right, Jordan, what you got?
I'm just working on these boots while I wait for an answer from the chat about what we're doing next with the amount of time that we've got left.
Let's take a look at that concept art again. So we got some leather greatcoat and dress options.
I did see somebody say leather.
Leather. Leather's always a good thing to show off, especially when we were talking about texture.
That's true. We can always do
Show off
that.
how to do leather texture.
Let's do it.
We may not have time to get to a little pig tush.
I would, Tony, we just get along. I was like, man, painting a pig butt.
He's so
I can get
adorable.
some big butt in here.
All right, he's gonna get some pig butt in there.
Okay.
It's kind of
I
leather.
can do
It's
both.
kind of leather. Yeah, you can do both.
You can do both.
He's
You
a
can just get in here
professional.
real quick.
Professional.
All right, so
Look at that leather
let me-
just going on.
what are we doing with the color here now? What's your first color?
This is Guncorp Brown, which is a pretty generically good color to use for most leathers.
I'm not gonna lie. This is something that I've said to several people. When we're talking about brown spectrums, like in terms of colors for paints, dude, I love the Privateer press line, and that's not like a shameless. That's a real thing. Like I love the browns that you guys make. I use them for a lot of things.
We have a lot of good brown options.
Yeah.
I'm going to post up here as well because I love posting videos. We have a video on painting leather from good old B. Roy.
B. Roy.
There it is. I will post this in the chat. This is an excellent video on technique for painting leather and getting some of that texture in.
So when you do get to that pig butt, what are your thoughts on pink? How many versions of pink do you have to look at, Jordan?
Plenty. There's plenty.
Plenty.
We can get some pink in there. Don't you worry about that pink butt. I'm just gonna paint the front so that way we can get to pig butt. All right, we're gonna take some umbral umber. We're gonna shade this with some umbral umber.
Ooh. Also a great color.
It is a very good color. Mix it in a little bit to that Guncorp.
You don't happen to have a pig butt painting video?
I do not have a pig butt painting video.
Well, it's,
We may have to highlight the Twitch video for this.
Excellent.
So, You might notice that I just dabbed my finger on the model there a little bit. That's also to help create a little bit of texture. Because the nice thing about painting leather is you can be really rough with the blends, and it still creates a really nice, like, effective leather texture. Because leather is not uniform. Like, if you're painting latex, right, you want really nice smooth blends, right? Because it's pretty perfectly smooth. But leather is not. It's got, I mean, it was skin at some point, and skin is irregular by nature. So having, especially as it dries and cracks and gets worn and used, once it's in its like finished form, you definitely want to create more of that texture. And you can use that, you can get that effect by stippling a little bit onto, as you see me do it a little bit here in this corner. Just kind of just poking your paintbrush at the bottom of this area.
I learned something just now.
What's that?
That.
Oh, just that technique.
I mean, on leather. I mean, I knew about stippling for doing like rust and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never tried it on leather before. Now I'm like, oh man.
Well, this adding texture. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, but this also reminds me of what former Privateer Press creative director Ed Burrell told me once, which has stuck with me in both creating illustrations and painting miniatures. He said one of the first things he looks for in kind of evaluating artistic ability in those mediums is he looks for exactly that. He's like, how is the material being translated,
yeah.
right? Like, it's not just color and it's not just light and shadow. Those things are important, but he's like, that next level, what really sets people, artists apart, is their ability to localize the texture of materials and really make metal feel like metal, and rough surfaces feel like rough surfaces.
So hey, Jordan, how would you put a scratch in that leather? Because we saw a lot of scratch battle damage and whatnot. Would that be the same type of way you would do with metal, just a different color scheme, or how would you do it?
Here, I mean, I've not really thought about it too much, but we can get in here and do that. This is a nice little open surface on this front part here. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably take a little bit of just straight Thamar black, maybe mix a little bit of Umbra Lumber into it to stop it from being so dark. Give it a little bit of that brown color tone. And we're probably just going to put, so I'm trying to think about where the wear and tear would be on this leather, right? Because it's not going to chip or scratch like armor would, right? So you want to figure out where it makes sense to have this scratch texture be. I'm just putting this in here because this is a little separation there, but just to find that shape a little bit better. So typically you'll get more cracks and more fraying at the edges, right? So something like in here, you'll get a little bit of this tearing. And I'm gonna kind of like come in here and stipple it a little bit. Maybe put some cracks into there.
That's really fine work.
And then I'm gonna take a little bit of Menoth White highlight mixed into my Guncorp Brown, just to get this really kind of bright contrasted color. And I'm just gonna kind of stipple it underneath that line.
Awesome.
I mean, that makes it feel way more three-dimensional. Just adding that little highlight.
Yeah.
And I mean, the nice thing about the texturing too is it kind of creates a little bit of that feeling without even having to put the black in there, right? So you can create that sort of texture within the leather without even having to put that black texture in there, just by leaving it a little kind of, you leave some spots open. You kind of go in here in the middle and you create a little bit of, some high spots where it might be a little bit more dented or worn.
You have a question, Andrew Duckers. For darker leathers, would you apply more umbral umber to deepen or start with a darker brown base? Or both?
Actually, you can start with the same base and just use glazes of umbral umber plus Thamar black or like even coal black by itself to kind of glaze over it, and you'll slowly start to bring that color down.
Keeping it uneven on purpose, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. So one of the really cool things that we do here in the studio, or I do, I guess now, and other studio painters have done in the past, is we typically will start most of our color recipes for brown in Guncorp Brown because it's such a neutral value, right? So it's not too dark and it's not too bright. It has this like really nice middle tone, and it's so easy to push in any direction as far as what the color tone is for that leather. If I want kind of a bluish leather, I can just shade it with a little bit of coal black or glaze it with a little bit of blue later on, and it'll totally change the color of the leather. And likewise, if I want it to be more yellow, I can glaze it with a little bit of yellow ink and highlight it with maybe some moldy ochre or some, rucksack tan. Or if I want to keep it a really, brown, dark brown, use a little bit of brown ink. So it's like this kind of vessel for leather that you can change in any sort of way that you want. And I don't know if Brendan's video goes into it, but it might. I don't really remember.
I'm going to post it again to Andrew because your question is exactly what Brendan talks about and exactly what Jordan reiterated about painting dark leathers. Brendan goes into that. I believe he starts with a Guncorp brown base, and then he just takes some of that leather really super dark just to show it off. So I will post that.
Yeah, I remember him doing that video, I think. Or it might have been like a Get Your Paint On that he was on, where he talked about that specifically. He kind of went over a couple of different variations of leather and what to do to make it kind of pop and look very different.
All right, Andrew, I reposted it for you. So check out that video. I think you'll get even more answers to your question.
And one of the cool things that you can do is you can even paint the entire surface in little dots and specks and scratches, and you'll get this really, really cool, just textured feel for the whole surface area. And then what you can do to kind of smooth it out and create more shape to it afterwards is you can go in and you can glaze it down with a brown ink or a bluish ink or a yellow ink, what have you, to kind of recapture some of that shape and give you those highlights and those shadows.
And Alec had a really great tip here. He says that don't forget that areas of leather that are under friction constantly can lighten. So you can look at where she's wiping her hands or anything over her clothes and gear rubbing. That's the end of the comment, but I'm guessing what he means is you can think about where that character might be having a lot of friction on those parts and paint them lighter.
Lighten them up.
Yeah, or darken the areas around it.
And then David Lee asks, do you usually fully render a portion before moving on to the next? Seems like it's hard to plan and control the overall composition of the model if you take that approach. And before you go, I think, David, part of the thing that he has going for him right now is he actually already has a color directive laid out for him. You can see here. So he's kind of already has that composition, and now he's coloring it in, as it were, rather than taking a blank canvas and saying, all right, how am I going to put this model together? Start to finish. So it's I think it's a very different process when you're painting your own one-off versus following a directive that's already been created for you.
Yeah, it's a really good way to put it, Adam. Like having, and this is even something that you can take into your own painting, is going in and really thinking about your project and even writing down like your game plan. Like, this is how I want this model to look. I'm going to paint the browns this way. I'm going to paint the this, this arm and these boots specifically that way, and then just execute, right? Once you have a game plan, just follow it through. And if you want to make changes to it later, you always can, right? It's a paint. You're working on art, right? It doesn't always have to be exactly the way you planned it. But having that game plan will make things go faster.
That's the second week
man,
you
that's
dropped the
that's
brush.
like super
Is it
deep.
under there?
Oh, it's pretty
right.
far under there.
Let me go for it.
But
This just got interesting.
oh, do I do that all the time? All the time. I drop my paintbrushes all the time. You're gonna have to get it through this side. Yeah, it's behind the So I don't even remember. He found it. He got it. So, oh my gosh, you're breaking the world, Tony. So I don't know, where was I again?
Yeah. Maybe the chat can remind us because I
We
just
talk
watched this go
about
down.
rendering things all the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Thanks, Tony. Saving the day again.
it definitely helps. Like I find completely rendering a texture or surface can be very helpful. For me, especially because I tend to have a little bit of ADD, right? In a lot of ways, I'll start on something and then I'll work on something else and then I'll come back and do a little bit more on a different surface. And it tends to make me take longer when I'm painting stuff. So I try to render stuff out as completely as I can, one element at a time, and then kind of move along.
How about you, Adam?
So-
When you paint, do you tend to do the same thing? Do you fully render one area, or do you kind of base coat everything and then start adding details?
So I used to do just the base coat everything and start adding details, but a long time ago I kind of started this working from the inside out, because I would stray paint here or there or whatever, and I'd have to keep coming back in and touching up. And just as I learned brush control, I developed this habit where I would start from the inside, the closest areas to the center, and then move out. And it just kept things cleaner. I feel like I get things done faster that way. So, but I'm also definitely not a pro painter. So my brush control could probably really level up in terms of the silly, stupid mistakes. So,
All right. Oh, I'm just noticing it's 11 o'clock. You guys are going to get some bonus minutes, although I do think we started a few minutes late. But what I realize is we have two more
we do have
CFACs.
We have more CFACs. Yeah.
So let's do those because
Yes.
Doug
I'll
is
be able to
very
get onto the
nice
butt.
when I ask him to provide these. So
Pig
I'm
butt.
make sure and put those on
Pig
here.
butt time. Gonna
All
get
right.
on to pig butt.
There you go.
And-
Bonus pig butt.
Any excuse to press this button.
So before you guys go into that, I know you're just about to start it. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what I'm doing while the chat goes into the rest of this. You can
Hit it.
kind of see here that I'm starting to put in a little bit of glazes of shading. This is kind of what I was talking about on redefining the shapes by putting the shades in there with glazes. This is just that mix that I was talking about earlier with that Gravedigger denim and that Thamar black I had left on my palette. Watered it down a bunch to turn it into a glaze. And now I'm using it as the shade for this this leather. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because it creates some amount of uniformity between the different elements. And it's one of the things to do when you're creating like a cohesive model, right? Is you use color tones in all of the different elements together so that it pulls the elements together. And you don't want the primary colors to be the same, otherwise it all looks the same. But having a little bit of shadow being all the same color everywhere on the model really makes everything kind of look like it belongs together.
Awesome.
So go ahead, back to your CFACs, and I'll start painting big butts.
Oh yeah. Okay. Question number 2. Would Arkadius's clone marry him?
It's a weird question, Doug.
It is a weird question, but a lot of people we already were assuming that was potentially his wife or partner, as it were. So would they get married?
What do you think, Jordan?
I mean, it's called Bride of Arkadius, right? Sorry for the literal answer.
As you said, though,
You know what I mean?
we had good reasons why it could be called Bride of Arkadius and not be Arkadius's bride and actually be married
Yeah, married off to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't think he's super into commitment.
All right, he seems pretty committed to all his experiments.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe
not into into like, you know, he doesn't seem like he's one for permanence. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem like the settling down sort of guy.
Alec, yes, sure, she can't be forced to testify.
That's true.
That's funny.
Stryker says, I'm going to go with no because he's married to his work and she is him.
Oh, yeah, no, because it's a clone. Yeah.
That's like that took my brain a second. I had to like draw mental lines.
Married for
Tax benefits.
I
mean, here's the thing, though.
Paying taxes?
I was gonna say a guy who runs the kind of science operation that Dr. Arkadius runs. I don't know that this guy's real like into paying taxes.
It's like
just kind of sticking to the rules, you know.
The moral scientific community, I'm out, but death and taxes, that's a real thing. You pay those bad boys.
Andrew Ducker's the only person good enough for Arkadius. Is Arkadius
nice?
Well, so that's But if Arkadius is clone, I can't tell. Are you saying that Arkadius will only ever possibly marry himself? Or is a clone enough of himself to marry? Like he would only marry his clone. You got to be pretty narcissistic if even your clone's not good enough for you.
I would never marry myself. I'm a terrible human being.
All right, let's check out the answer.
Okay. 30.
Yep.
Answer, absolutely not. They're essentially siblings, so this would be creepy and wrong. I'm not even going to point out that this is where Doug is drawing a line out of everything. So he's no song. This is no Song of Ice and Fire, apparently.
Wow.
Also, both versions of Arkadius dislike commitments and have their hands full keeping Lord Carver happy. So there you go. Actually, people were pretty spot on there with some of these guesses.
So I suppose, if you were married to your work, you would then having a spouse
No time.
might not. Yeah, but what's the point?
So,
Especially they don't have time for you. You don't have time for them.
yep.
All right, and let's start that other question. We get these in.
Let's do it. How does her scientific interests differ from Arkadius? What would she be interested in that's different than what her clone parent? I don't know. Sibling?
I'm gonna go with backgammon.
Yeah, there you go. What would be how would it be different? What do you guys think they would focus on differently? She clearly likes needles. So that's similar.
She has a teeny tiny pig
With hands. It's got hands.
with hands. So
Pretty sure it's got hands. Right, Jordan? Can you point out those hands on the pig?
Yes.
Creepy.
That's very weird. I just
Actual
realized that.
hands. And what are you talk about your how you're starting out this pig flesh? I know people have been yelling pig butt in the chat for a while. So
Pig butt. So this is just midland flesh on the pig butt. And I want to differentiate it from her skin tone. So I'm actually using the basis, a little bit of a variation on the basis for the retribution skin tone for her skin tone, which is normally it's Rin flesh plus Manoth white base. And I'm using midland flesh plus Manoth white base instead.
all right, Quasitor says she thinks she can make something better than Faro.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense.
So some competition.
Right. Something new and exciting.
Mm-hmm. Can't do other projects because following through on some plans for Lord Carver.
Oh, so everything she wants to do is pretty sidelined. I got you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
David does have a good point. He says, makes sense if that pig was going to end up being a war beast. Those pig beasts all have fists.
Oh, about why the pig has hands?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it certainly makes them much more functional. All right, let's take a look at this last answer.
Okay. The answer is, while Pharaoh do remain an area of fascination, she has an interest in experimenting on croaks. Seeking to create a miniature variant, she intends to make a miniature croak colony, including croak sorcerers, which she can keep in a terrarium in her laboratory for observation. That would be awesome. Could you
Teeny tiny
imagine?
croak army.
Just like a whole bunch of like pygmy-sized croaks just coming at you. It's terrifying.
I like the idea that she's got a bunch of croaks in the room ready to experiment, looking down at them all going, "You're not small enough."
Yeah. And they're just kind of looking up at her like some sort of like god.
Big sad frog eyes.
Why aren't we good enough? Silence.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us.
And Doug, thank you again for the CFAX. Wonderful as always. And I got to do it one more time. CFAX.
More pig butt. Gotta have more pig butt.
Oh, yeah.
So we're 10 minutes past. So if you have questions for Jordan or for Adam, post them now. We will do a lightning round of questions.
Lightning round.
Sounds like last night.
Yeah.
Lightning round of questions.
Ribbits. Oh, Hunter, you just won the internet. Mini croaks are absolutely called ribbits. You just blew my mind with that, so thank you.
Ribbit swarm.
Ribbit swarm. We got what's next week?
All right. So it's half a surprise. It's going to be an Infernal model. We're getting close enough now, friends, that it's Infernal time. But I'm not going to tell you which Infernal model. So you'll just have to wait and see. But we are going to get kickstarted on Infernals. We're start working on that for a while. We'll kind of get in there and we'll explore the Infernals.
How awesome.
So guys got to stay tuned for that.
Will a dev chat next week be a fireside C chat with Doug Seacat? We don't have any plans to do a lore chat next week with Doug for that schedule. However, we are definitely developing doing the lore hangout more regularly. So trying to find an actual regular slot where we can put in that show, whether it happens monthly or every other week or whatever Doug wants to do. We're trying to find a slot and a way to make that work. So you will see more fireside C chats with Doug Seacat and Josh Cologne.
Let's get a quick picture again of that pig butt.
Pig
Boom!
butt.
Big butt,
Wow,
big butt,
that
big
actually
butt.
is looking really good, dude.
Big butt, big butt, big butt.
All right, I'm going to take these off.
That's literally my favorite thing right now is pig butt. Call it pig butt. Pig butt.
And Jordan, you want to start riding us out of here?
Pig butts.
And scene.
And scene. Pig butts.
Real quick, Jordan, you want to throw out what the colors are again on the pig butt?
This is just Midland Flesh.
Just Midland Flesh?
building
Just
it up.
Midland Flesh.
That is a great color.
Yep. All right, folks. That's it for this week. Thank you all for showing up, and I look forward to showing you guys some Infernals next week. Give us a shout out for Adam Oleg Schlager.
From Broken Egg Games.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Adam.
See you guys next week, folks.
Bye.